What if every volcano on Earth erupted at once? Let's imagine, for a moment, that every single volcano on Earth, big, small, dormant, active, under the ocean, hidden beneath ice, decided to erupt at exactly the same time. Not just the usual suspects like Kilauea or Etna, but all 1,500 or so active volcanoes, plus tens of thousands of dormant ones that have been sitting quietly for centuries. Even the ones scientists aren't sure are volcanoes would join in, just in case. First, there would be noise. A lot of it. The sound of hundreds of cubic kilometers of rock and magma being blasted into the air would be deafening, reaching decibel levels far beyond what human ears could handle. If you were anywhere near one of these volcanoes, you wouldn't just hear it, you'd feel it in your bones, assuming you still had bones after the next few minutes. Within seconds, the sky would turn dark over much of the world. Ash clouds from massive eruptions like Yellowstone, Tambora, and Toba would merge into an enormous, planet-spanning shroud. Sunlight would vanish in broad daylight. People thousands of kilometers away would see the sky fade to gray, then black, as ash and sulfur dioxide filled the atmosphere. Rain would mix with ash to create a kind of cement that coated everything it touched. Roofs would collapse under the weight. Roads would vanish. The heat near the larger eruptions would be unbearable. Pyroclastic flows, clouds of hot gas, ash, and rock moving at hundreds of kilometers per hour, would tear across landscapes, flattening forests and vaporizing anything in their path. Entire coastlines would boil as underwater volcanoes blasted superheated water into the ocean, triggering tsunamis that would ripple outward, slamming into continents in waves that could reach dozens of meters high. Global air travel would come to an instant halt. Jet engines can't handle volcanic ash, and in this scenario, the entire sky is ash. GPS satellites would still be up there, cheerfully sending location data, but the ground-based infrastructure would quickly fail as power plants and communication lines collapsed under the weight of debris. Within hours, the temperature on the surface would begin to drop. This might sound strange, after all, aren't volcanoes hot? But the heat they produce is nothing compared to the sunlight they block. Billions of tons of sulfur dioxide and ash high in the stratosphere would reflect sunlight back into space, triggering what's known as a volcanic winter. The last time a single volcano, Tambora in 1815, did this, it caused the year without a summer, when crops failed and famine spread across the northern hemisphere. Multiply that effect by thousands of times, and you can imagine the scale. The oceans would absorb some of the fallout, but this would trigger another problem: massive acidification. Rain would turn acidic across the globe, poisoning lakes, rivers, and soils. Plants would wither. Animals dependent on those plants would starve. Humans, of course, would be scrambling for food, clean water, and breathable air. And yet, in the first day or two, much of the planet's infrastructure might still be standing. The real danger would be the weeks and months afterward. Without sunlight, global temperatures could drop by tens of degrees. Ice would spread from the poles. Crops would fail everywhere, leading to a collapse of the global food supply. The lucky few living far underground, in submarines, or in sealed biodomes might survive for a time, but for most life on the surface, it would be a slow decline. Interestingly, life deep underwater around hydrothermal vents might barely notice. Some bacteria and deep-sea creatures depend on the heat and minerals from undersea volcanoes rather than sunlight, so they might thrive in the chaos. In a way, they'd be the new rulers of Earth. How long would this last? Well, depending on the total amount of ash and gases pumped into the stratosphere, the volcanic winter could persist for years. The immediate explosive phase would be over in hours or days, but the cooling could last decades. Even after the skies cleared, the world would be drastically different: ecosystems destroyed, coastlines reshaped, new mountains where there had been valleys. The good news? Volcanoes erupting all at once is so unlikely that it might as well be impossible. For it to happen, we'd need some kind of science fiction level planetary trigger, an alien superweapon, perhaps, or a bizarre chain reaction in the Earth's mantle. Until then, individual eruptions will continue to remind us that we live on a planet with a molten heart, and that the ground beneath our feet is only pretending to be stable. Subscribe for more interesting